So you've decided to go to Australia on a working holiday. Hell yeah. You've made the biggest choice so far and probably one of the best choices you'll make in your life. You're going to have an amazing time. The problem is, what do you do now? You've looked up all these amazing places you want to go, the Great Barrier Reef, the Sydney Bridge, maybe you even looked up the rainforest or the amazing hikes you can do to Uluru. Problem is, you don't know what the next step is in your journey here. No doubt, through all the websites and the videos you've been watching, you've seen ads and pop-ups for these companies that help organize it for you. These companies, like Global Work and Travel, are amazing companies, and what they do is they help you plan your trip to Australia. In my personal opinion, though, I do not believe these companies are the best idea for you when it comes to visiting Australia on a working holiday. These companies are amazing in the fact that they take some of the guesswork away from you. And if you're going to a country that perhaps you don't speak the native language, is a developing country, or perhaps doesn't have a great setup for travel and backpackers, then all for it. These are a great stepping stone and a great way to get you comfortable in that country. The thing with Australia, though, is it is an exceptionally easy country to travel. Australia is so well developed in terms of backpackers and in terms of the network they have here that you really don't need much assistance. What these companies do is they take the guesswork out for you and they make you a little bit more confident when you hit the ground, which, don't get me wrong, is great. But in my opinion, by the end of these videos, you'll be able to be that confident and you'll have all the things that they will take care of you taken care of already. These companies, when you get to Australia, a company like Global Work and Travel, for example, which I looked into, basically what they do is they help you apply for your visa. When you get to the ground, they give you a few days at a hostel, maybe a week staying. They give you maybe a pub crawl or some kind of social event like that, which is awesome for meeting people. They give you a cell phone and a briefing. They might help you with your tax file number and superannuation, and they get you a job, right? All of it sounds amazing, and it is. The problem with it is they cost upwards of $1,500 to do this, and they do not cover any of your costs to getting to Australia. So your visa application itself, which is $500, is not covered. The flights are not covered, and anything else you get past that are not covered. The best part about them is they set you up with your tax information and they get you a job. Everything else they have, I do not believe is useful. For any of you that ever actually stayed in a hostel, you know that it's almost impossible not to be social. So what these companies, what they lack is that they know that you're anxious about it and they help eliminate that for you, which is awesome, but it doesn't need to be done here in Australia. The main flaws with them is that they don't cover your expenses, as I said, and that they don't relay the fact to you about how easy it is to find a job here in Australia. When I first got to Australia, I didn't work for a few months, but when I did look, I found one the next day. When I came over here to Western Australia again, the first bar I handed my resume into, I got a job. That being said, I did have experience, but not an exorbitant amount. There are so many people I know that haven't worked hospitality before, and a food runner job or anything like that in Australia here is very easy to find, and bartending and serving is almost as easy. And most of the people in Australia do work in the hospitality industry. So for the price point of $1,500, I do not think it is necessary. By the end of these videos, you will have all the information you need to feel confident with your taxes, your superannuation, the bank accounts, and everything else that you don't need to spend that extra $1,500, in my opinion. That being said, if after these videos you are still unsure about it, contact the companies and maybe you can ask. They do eliminate all the worries about it and they set you up with a job. I do think you can find a better job on your own just as easy, but it is up to you in the end. So after you go with that, the first thing you need to look for is buying flights. Where you go in Australia will completely depend on what you want to do and the season you're going in. If you want to see the cities, then Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane are obviously the immediate bet, right? If you want to go hiking and see the more obscure wild side, then I would recommend Perth or Brisbane. When I got to Australia, I flew to Brisbane because that's where my friends were going to. I didn't look into anything else. Really, I should have, but I got lucky that it hit the season and the location I wanted to go to. Another key point that you'll look for is the time of year, the season. It may sound obvious to those of you that have been to this side of the world before or are in Australia currently, but the seasons are switched compared to North America and Europe. Winter here is June to September, which is reversed for us back home. So that is the cold time, especially in Sydney and Melbourne. It gets quite cold. So don't be coming to Australia in April or May and expecting to have the huge hot weather in Sydney. It's not going to happen. When you want to go to Sydney, if you want to experience the city in the summer, you need to be there between November and February. And I think that's a key point for that. In terms of price, they don't vary greatly, but there is options for that too. For if you're like me, I went for the cheapest flight to get me to Australia, and it also worked out for my friends because I was gearing towards that area of Australia. Personally, I don't think Australia, I think you should see all of it. It is amazing. I like the West Coast the most myself, but I couldn't imagine leaving Australia and not seeing the East Coast. So I think for me, the price point was always the best. I ended up flying to Australia for about 675 Canadian dollars, which is a good deal. And I'll show you now how much they vary in prices depending on when you're going and whatnot. Of course, right now COVID does affect it, but I will show you right now the different price points of those. As you can see here, Perth is the cheapest option here, around $850. If you go over here to Sydney, it's about $1,000, and Brisbane is about the same. Again, this all depends on your time of season. Okay, so there you go. As you see, the prices really don't matter that much. The location you go, either way, it's going to be an amazing trip. You've made 2 huge steps now. You've decided where you want to go and where you want to start your trip, and you've decided whether you're going to do it alone or go through a company. The next video is one of the most important. I'm going to talk you through filling out your visa. Now, it's not as big a deal as it sounds. It sounds like a lot of pressure. The key thing is you got to get it right. But as long as you read through it, take your time, and follow the steps I'm going to show you in the next video, you're going to do just fine. All right, I'll see you then. Take care.